Hi, this is the D Tycoon Show, and I'm Bill Morton. In case you don't know who D Tycoon actually is, her name is Catherine Brown D Tycoon. And people ask me all the time, why is the show called D Tycoon? Because she ran for mayor last time around. And when I ran for 49th Ward Alderman, we worked together and did a lot of different events together. And she's really great. She's had this TV show for many years. And, Trudy Leong and I, Trudy's in the back there, she asked us, since we work so well together, why don't you do the D Tycoon Show? So thank you. Thank you very much, Catherine Brown D Tycoon. We're having a great time here. We have a lot of great guests. Let's see. Boom. There's information for Catherine Brown D Tycoon. You can go look her up, Mayor Tycoon on Facebook, and there's her phone number and her Yahoo email address. So give you a little time to do that. I would like to let you know that our guest today is a former 48th Ward Aldermanic candidate who I met throughout a lot of the different events. He gave me a call personally when I was running, and I thought that was really awesome. It's real professional, really great guy, super friendly, community activist, can't say enough good things about him. And we actually first met at the IVI IPO holiday party, which was great. And then we kept on bumping into each other and doing some great things together. And he's still a community activist. And I think that's key. That's one thing. Whether you win or you don't, it really shows that you really care about your community, that you really want to make a positive change. If you daily support your community, you're active in your community, you show your face and you do your good deeds. I've seen candidates that have disappeared. Just poof, they're gone after they lose. And it really kind of shows, in my opinion, what they're really all about. So here's for the genuine article. All right, here we go. We've got our Rogers Park Job Fair every month. And what we want to do is get people jobs. There are many people who say you can't find a job, there are no jobs, this group or that group can't find jobs. Well, here are the jobs. Info at rogerspark.cc. So it's a monthly job fair, and I think that everyone should go. It's been very successful, and we've been doing it for over a year and a half. All right, so now I'd like to introduce David Earl Williams III.
Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. So why don't you start by telling us a story of what got you involved in community activism and why you wanted to run for alderman.
Sure. Just a summarized version. Let's see. Well, I was born in Chicago. Born in Edison, raised in uptown Chicago. Mm-hmm. Was in the Navy for 4 years. Studied abroad in Canada. Came back in 2010. That's actually when my political activism began. Mm-hmm. Lived in Edgewater for about 6 years now. I moved over there in 2013. Why did I run for alderman in the 48th Ward? Well, the sitting alderman currently wasn't doing much. I don't think it's fair to the people if they don't have a choice, at election time, mm-hmm. and then you have people who can become very acclimated if they're in that position of power. And
so no choice. You mean there were no candidates running against
prior to
mm-hmm.
when I did? Yes.
For how many years?
4 years.
Okay.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And not just the fact because he didn't have anyone running against him in the last election. Mm-hmm. I'm a renter. The rent's going up. Where I live in the 48th Ward. And, the current alderman, Harry Osterman, and he says there's affordable housing options, but, when I was out there, and, from experience, people are being forced out of the ward because it's so expensive, and that bothered me a lot. It bothered me a lot, too, when I seen one part of the ward being favored over the other, Andersonville. Mm-hmm. is more affluent, and they're getting things done. And then if you're in Edgewater or uptown, especially with the crime, it's kind of swept under the rug.
So kind of a gentrification issue.
Yeah.
The rising housing
Yes.
rates. One thing is with my neighborhood, Rogers Park, and your neighborhood of Edgewater, is that the renters far outnumber
Yeah.
the owners,
Right.
and that's something that a lot of the development groups don't want to
Right.
really have out there.
But the developers are treated so well in this city, it's ridiculous, you know?
Right, and why?
Well, I mean, they lobby the current aldermen and women, and they give them their, the money when it's election time, and they do as they say. And I don't think that's fair when it comes to actual representation. You shouldn't be bought off by the highest bidder.
So, can you give me like an example of maybe something that you've witnessed that was unjust in your ward?
Well, I can name a few things.
Go ahead.
One in particular, when it came to the 64-unit apartment building that was right near Loyola University. This was a low-income housing building, by the way, and they were tearing it down because they wanted to build a student dormitory, and you lost a tax base with that, and the people were forced out of it, and the current alderman didn't say anything about it, until I came around. You've
So
had
he wouldn't stand up against Loyola University?
no. Maybe it's a bit of a bias too for him because he went to Loyola University. That's one of his alma maters, and well, he's in bed with them. Sometimes they'll have these community meetings and they'll bring most of the staff there, and then some people from the community will come, and there's that illusion saying that we really wanted this to be gone, and but they didn't.
So you're talking about like stacking the room, stacking the
Yes.
deck, having the developers come like an hour or two early,
Right.
filling the room and not letting the community in because they say, well, the room is full, and then getting the public opinion that they want.
And it's a little bit more of that lack of community outreach that I had an issue with as well. And when I do win eventually, I feel that you have to reach out to everybody. You have to treat everybody as equals. Doesn't matter if you live in East Andersonville, Edgewater, or North Uptown. We're supposed to be a unified ward, a family,
Right.
not playing favorites.
Right, and citywide as well.
Yes.
Citywide as well. So you alluded that you are going to run again.
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm a glutton for punishment.
So tell me about the punishment of, I know, but tell our viewers about the punishment and the pain of actually running for public office, the risk involved.
Well, you don't have much of a personal life. Here's the hardest thing. Every candidate who has run for office will tell you this. It's hard to raise money. And, when it comes to support, I've got a lot of small donations when I was doing it, some of my own money as well. Everything else, I personally didn't really mind if it was personal tax, whatever, it just slides off of you. You shouldn't be involved in politics if you can't handle criticism.
Right.
Yeah.
Of course, and everyone gets the criticism.
Yeah.
Justified or not, whether you earned it or not.
Right. That means you might be doing something right if you
Right.
criticize.
And, they say you're not judged by your friends, but you're judged by those who are
Yeah.
against you. Sometimes.
Yeah.
And I'm honored. I was honored by those who were against me because I would not want to sit in their camp.
No.
Not at all.
No. It annoys them too, win or lose, when you're still involved with the community, because I think that's very important, and that's something you alluded to, because you have people who just entirely disappear. And here's the thing, I live there, so I don't plan on moving.
Right.
And I want to try to do as much good as I can, to build up my ward, Chicago too.
And
of
so
course.
you're continuing your support, you're continuing your activism.
Yes.
And so what kind of things are you doing?
Well, unfortunately, I had to help a few people move out of the ward because the rent's so high. Again, something I ran on. I talked about rent control, or at the very least, when it came to affordable housing, because currently it's, 10 to 15% of any apartment complex that's built, they have to be put to the side for affordable housing.
Right.
But then the developers can always get out of that by paying a fine.
They can pay a fine,
Yeah.
and earlier it used to be permeable surfaces or green roof,
Yeah.
and that this
Yeah.
was not fair.
But I do believe it should be 30%, or at least a 50, and no fine whatsoever.
Now, I'm not sure if they're still doing this, but another way they evaded that is they would put more of a percentage in another property.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't
Yeah.
have to put that percentage
Yeah.
in every one of their properties.
Yeah.
Which which is not good.
No. No, Chicago treats the developers too well. And this is our money.
Right.
You know, our tax dollars. It's like, you know, that's like, I don't know, it's just beyond me. You know, it's like saying, you know, if you're against corporations, you know, using your tax dollars for certain things, you most definitely should be against, like, the developers for doing that and then
Right.
running away with it. That's like robbery right there.
Right. I support the small businesses and what they do and everything else. But what do you think about in politics, local politics, incumbent politicians shaking down businesses, the small businesses? Or have you experienced any of that in your neighborhood? Have you seen any of that?
I have not seen it personally. I've been told by certain small businesses, you know, with a certain alderman, you know, they've come around and, you know, suggested certain things about,
Right.
at the time they wouldn't give them their license. And when they were in control of the zone, of course, that's all, you know, been shifted over, I believe, to the mayor's office as
Yes.
of recent.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that takes a little bit of the automatic prerogative away, which is great. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really something. So, explain to me the perimeters of your ward.
Okay, so it's, put it like this. It is the east side of Andersonville. That would be from Foster and Clark, where it begins, pretty much to the lakefront, which is, you know, Edgewater.
Right.
South would be Argyle and Broadway. Pretty much up north to be Devon and Broadway, kind of.
So we're neighbors.
Yes, we are. Yeah.
We're neighbors. Now there's an SSA and an initiative that was put forth by local development corporation and maybe one or two development corporations and Loyola University. They're labeling our neighborhoods, the in-between area, a little bit of yours, a little bit of mine, Rogers Edge.
Yeah.
And I've heard a lot of criticism about that. I think it's a silly name as an excuse to raise more funding through you know, taxation.
Yeah.
Have you heard anything about Rogers Edge?
Well, I've seen it.
From,
You know,
from
I
your
go
end.
down there.
Have you
But
talked to anybody
nothing
about
in
that?
depth about that, no.
Oh, people in Rogers Park don't like it. Rogers Park is Rogers Park.
Yeah. Well, I guess they don't mind it so much in Edgewater. Yeah.
That's how it goes.
Yeah.
Kind of like West Ridge, and they call it West Rogers Park.
Yes.
You never know how that's going to go. So, in the scheme of things, are you planning on attending city council meetings? Are you planning on using your voice? Are you planning on doing what to influence your ward and to better it for your
Right.
people, even though you didn't win
Right.
the seat?
Well, I think, you know, being a candidate, you know, you have your perks still. You're treated like a local hero. So I've always wanted to do as much positive things as I can. I'm still doing them now. It may be small, you know, to go out and help people move out of the ward, unfortunately, or, you know, whatever else that may be done. You know, I even do work with the Chicago Alliance for Animals, you know, animals rights activist group, and that helps give them some more, you know, exposure there as well.
So, okay, I'm a little bit familiar with this, but not totally familiar with this. I know you are. I believe you are actively protesting against horse-drawn carriages within the city of Chicago limits.
Yes.
And why?
Okay. Well, there has been documented cases where the horses have been overworked. I mean, we could talk about it. It's an archaic practice, you know, because it's the 21st century. You know, the horse is technically being worked here. It's not the person that's, you know, riding them, too. And, you know, I don't know the exact address because it slips off the top of my mind here, but there's three major horse carriages companies that operate in Chicago. One of them, actually two of them, they take them to a warehouse downtown somewhere, and they're in a very cramped room, so that's no way to treat an animal like that. There's one that actually does have a farm, so if we were to actually, you know, get the support to get rid of, you know, the horse carriages in Chicago, you know, people are like, what's going to happen to the horses? Are they going to go off to the glue factory or whatever? That wouldn't happen. No, because they would actually go back to a farm, and there's even an initiative where you know, maybe some celebrity support to help out with that as well.
That's great.
Yes.
That's great. I'd love to see where this progresses. So, your support for LGBT issues.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about this.
Well, you know, I come from a independent-minded family. You know, I've never had issues with people of the same sex doing their thing. It doesn't bother me. I mean, I've been around individuals who, for some reason, are obsessed with, you know, well, they shouldn't be doing it. I was like, why is that your problem, you know?
Right.
Let people be who they are.
Right.
I have friends who are gay, you know, lesbian, and, you know, it's fine. I think people need to just get over the fact that people are going to do what they want as long as there's no force, no harm. Hey, I'm okay with it.
So, are you a part of an organization? Or do you support an organization?
I'm more of an ally. I mean, I'm supportive of any LGBT cause, though. Yeah.
And which one? I saw some organizations somewhere on your website.
Well, yeah, that kind of slipped my mind, though.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool.
I just put it like this. I'm open to all of them.
Very good.
Yeah. So.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. Cool. So, accountability and transparency.
Which is, we have a lack of that.
Yeah. I mean, do you think it's changed with the new mayor, with the new alderman, or do you think it's not really going to change, or do you think
it might take a decade for it to fully take effect? But it's in a beginning process. Yeah. I mean, it depends on who you put in office if they're going to actually be any different from who they who was previously in there.
Right.
I mean, if you want that to really change, I mean, there's going to have to be term limits enacted, for the aldermen and women.
And how do you feel about term limits?
I would love for that to happen. I think that the very least for an alderman or woman, you should serve at least 8 to 12 years. And New York's a pretty big city. They have 51 aldermen, but I give them credit. They at least do have term limits there.
So you have enough time to really understand the system and grow with it.
Yes.
And be able to utilize your position, but you don't sit around for too long and
get acclimated.
Get acclimated, or become apathetic to it.
Right. Yeah, a lot of them do.
They just kind of sit there.
Yeah. And they're collecting a big paycheck.
Yeah.
Off of our backs.
So, criticism for your for Harry Osterman. Do you feel he was apathetic?
Oh yeah. Well, that's why I ran. I believe it was the Sun-Times that asked me if you could name one alder person from the past who was your inspiration. And ironically, it was his mother. She was a community activist when she was alive. And, she actually cared for the ward. And you compare him to her, it's like night and day.
Kathy.
Yeah, Kathy Osterman, yeah.
And the one, the namesake for the beach.
Yes, and she always wore the hats, too.
Oh, great, great. Have you worked with the park advisory councils at all?
No, I haven't done that.
Yeah, that's a good
thing. I'm all over the place. I probably should.
Yeah, that's cool. And what about infrastructure?
No, nothing in depth like that. No.
What are your plans for infrastructure? If you were to be in the position to,
if I were to become alderman, infrastructure and such as what jobs to bring the work with the Chamber of Commerce.
Streets.
Well, yeah, you got to get on the Chicago
sewers.
Department of Transportation to fix that up.
Yeah.
Me as alderman or anyone who's in that position.
Yeah.
I mean, I could just go out there to Home Depot and pave the roads myself if they take forever, but it's more of being on top of them all the time. And I do feel, this is an opinion, maybe some people do feel this way.
Right.
311 with the automated system, how it is now, is terrible. I think it should just go through the alderman or woman's office so they could get on top of these people at City Hall to provide these services in a quick and efficient manner.
Right. And okay, there's the public pension shortfall.
Right.
That's a huge issue.
Yes.
That's quite basically probably the biggest issue. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Well, I could tell you this. I would feel that city elected officials probably shouldn't be getting the pension. I was all for talking about cutting the salaries of the city elected officials. I'm not talking about some city employee because we should honor our contracts, though. If we're talking about looking for alternative sources of funds, I've also talked about, the LaSalle street tax, the 0.1% tax. That's more of a state issue, but I'm still in favor of that to this day. The marijuana legalization is going to happen. I mean, you can get money from that as well, and the casino,
Right.
But with the casino, I would prefer if they don't build that in like the south or west side, obviously, but more like somewhere downtown or something like that.
And I heard that the city's going to get about a third of that, the revenue on that one.
Yeah.
And statewide, we're talking about gas tax.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people won't be happy about that.
Cigarette sin tax.
Yeah. I don't smoke, and here's the funny thing. I actually don't have a car. I don't drive, so I depend on public transportation. So I guess I'm much greener than Harry Osterman would be. But for those who do drive, I would assume it's going to probably hurt a few people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. How about the divvy? Since we're talking about bikes.
The bikes.
Yeah.
Have I drove a divvy? Okay, so I had a bike. Mine was unfortunately stolen. So I like to do long distance walking.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do every summer. One time of the summer, I'll walk all the way from Edgewater to downtown Chicago.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot of walking.
Yeah, we just hosted the Ruck March.
Okay.
And they go 20 miles with 20-pound rucksacks on their backs to represent the 20 veterans that commit suicide in the United States every single day.
Right.
So that's a walk.
Yeah.
That's a thing. So your time with in the military, in the Navy,
Yeah.
how has that influenced more what you're doing now?
Well, I know how to manage time quite well. Let me see. The discipline most definitely helped. And keeping a cool mind in very stressful situations. And, and when it comes to public speaking, I was asked, well, you're in politics. How did you learn how to do it so well? I'm not like the best. I try not to stutter much. But I could say just being around, different cultures and talking to people, it just helps to be yourself.
I remember at the IVI-IPO holiday party, in particular, you recognized me immediately.
Yeah.
We had not met.
Yeah.
And you gave me the warmest welcome and greeting. And you knew pretty much everyone by name.
Yeah, that helps.
That was a great job. Yeah. That was great. I remember Maggie was really good at that, and you were good at that. And some other seasoned politicians were mechanical.
Yeah.
Very mechanical. They'd shake your hand and just like, well, let's just say it. Madam President Preckwinkle, she was there, and she'd shake your hand. Oh, hi, nice to meet you. Look for the next person. Hi, nice to meet you. And then she was in and she was out.
Yeah, Lori Lightfoot was there, and yeah, she was quite kind to me. Yeah, so I still remember that.
Yeah, that's really something. And I think with the outcome of the mayoral election, how do you feel about that?
I don't expect miracles to be performed, but I do feel Lori Lightfoot is going to be a powerhouse, and a lot of these older men and women who have been in there for a while might need to watch their backs, especially someone like Ed Burke, who's been indicted, and I don't think he's going to willingly give up his position. He'll probably have to be dragged out, by the feds.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. That's how it goes. And then let's look at the school board.
Okay.
Elected school board?
I'm for it, yeah.
And
I think it's better. I think it's better to actually have elections for that. You could get people from the community, parents, who care, for the kids' education. I think they would be better representatives than some elected board.
Because if you look at what Mayor Lightfoot is doing right now, she's taking the power from the alderman.
Yeah.
And I've heard, I can't even name which one it was, said, well, why am I even alderman if I can't do anything? And I don't know who it was, but I saw that on TV, and I thought that was something. Now, with Mayor Lightfoot taking in the power from the Aldermanic privilege, the local school board is kind of the opposite. Appointed by the mayor to bringing it to the community.
Right.
So I don't know if it's ebb and flow or the way it goes. How do you feel about like the difference, like picking and choosing what the mayor gets to do, what the mayor's powers are, and what the community's powers are? Do you feel that maybe the community should have more? Do you think the alderman should have more? Do you think that maybe reeling in the powers to the mayor?
I think the community should have more power than any elected official. That's how it's supposed to be. Yeah, any elected official who could control your life that much, they become like your master. Yeah.
So, okay, let's get down to ward nights.
Okay.
Some aldermen are big on ward nights, some not so much.
Yeah, right.
Some weekly, some monthly.
Right.
Our former alderman said, why do I need to do ward nights? People are just looking for jobs. And it's just like, well, then give them jobs.
Right.
And have the ward nights.
Yeah.
Would you do ward nights weekly, monthly? How would you do it? And like this is bringing it back to the community's voice, making the decision.
I would like to do it weekly. I think it's important. If you're going to be elected to office, you need to be out there with your people of the ward, you know,
Right.
talking to them, seeing how you could serve them better. You know, because I think if you're just going to be lazy, and like, oh, I'm going to collect this paycheck, and then you're missing out right there. It's just only smart to do that. You know?
Right. And then what about public safety?
Well, it's a huge thing. You have. Here's the thing. When I was running for alderman in the 48th ward, an issue we have in uptown, you know, there's somewhat of a gang violence for the north side. There was a shooting. Well, actually, about 5, unfortunately.
Sure.
And I always talked about what you'd think would be common sense. It's like, you know, we have the police. I'm not talking about having a police state, but, you know, they have to do their job or at least have their presence there, you know. And that would at least cut down on some of that. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to be perfect.
Right.
Right. Crime's going to happen.
Nothing's perfect.
But for some reason, after all the complaining I did, you know, Harry, you know, finally did something about it. I was like, oh, I guess he had a point. He's probably thinking to himself, because I don't understand why it took so long to figure that out.
Yeah.
Really, you know?
Yeah. I think that you got traction in your campaign. You didn't win, but you made an impression.
Yeah.
You made an impact.
Yeah.
And you kind of held him to the fire a little bit. And with that, he realized he better shape up. He better shape up.
Well, I would hope so. I don't have much faith on maybe some things. You know, I don't dislike the guy or anything like that. You know, it's something that me as a constituent, you know, if I'm going to give you all this money, all of us, you know, to pay you to do a certain job, you should do it. It's common sense, and
And to be fair, we invite Alderman Osterman over to say what he would like, and we'll interview you, Alderman. And you know, Laura at the Growling Rabbit said wonderful things about Harry Osterman. He offered to move a bus stop for her so she can have a patio. And in our neighborhood, in the 49th ward, she really had a hard time.
Yeah.
With our alderman, the former incumbent. So you know, want to be honest and fair, and I think you really did a great job with your campaign.
Thank you.
You ran it honestly and very good.
We'll do better next time.
And we will all do better next time, and we will win next time. Gotta go. Thank you so much. Absolutely. This is D Tycoon Show. Signing off.